Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Garcia. We've got one last shape to find your volume for, and that's your spheres. I think you'll find today to be fairly simple, but again, let's start to talk about the process. So far for the last few days, we've been talking about volume with comparing different three-dimensional shapes. We can do the same thing today with your spheres. Notice the picture at the right has a sphere actually inside of a cylinder. What's happening here is the sphere is actually touching both the top and the bottom and the sides of the cylinder as well. So what happens is that the radius of the sphere ends up actually being the same as the radius of the cylinder because it's touching at the sides. When the sphere is actually put inside of the cylinder, it's actually taking up 2/3 of the cylinder's volume. So when we start to think about how to actually find the volume for the sphere, we can think about that relationship of how it's 2/3 the volume of the cylinder. So as you can see with the formula I've started, 2/3 area of your base times your height. When you had your cylinder, the area of the base, remember, was a circle. So what we're filling in for the B is your pi radius squared, and of course we still have the height for your cylinder. But notice what's happening in the picture. Because the sphere is actually touching both the top and the bottom, having 2 radii is actually going to be equivalent to the height of the cylinder. So we can actually substitute in that 2r that you see on the right-hand side for the height of the cylinder, as they're both equivalent. So let's actually start to clean up this formula because it's starting to look a little crazy. When we start to look at the formula, we can actually simplify some pieces in terms of what's like terms. So notice that the 2/3 and the 2 are both coefficients, so we can multiply those to get 4/3. We still have the pi, but then we also have an r squared and an r. Keeping in mind rules of exponents, you have r squared and that's an r to the 1 power, so we add the exponents to get r to the 3rd. You've just simplified your formula, and this is the volume formula for a sphere. So long as you know the radius, if you take 4/3 pi, radius cubed, that will give you the volume for your sphere. So let's try a couple examples. Here's the first one. We're going to find the volume for the sphere, and notice the dimension that's given is 9 meters. So again, using your formula for your sphere, which is your 4/3 pi radius cubed. Note that the only thing that you need to know about your sphere is the radius measurement. The nice thing on this question is the 9 meters is your radius measurement, so we can simply plug that in for r. Now, when you're simplifying this equation, keep in mind order of operations. You have to do the exponent first. So when you're going to type in 9 to the 3rd power in your calculator, you want to be looking for that upside down V button. So notice what you see here on the right. You've got 9 to the 3rd power. So you're going to do 9, the upside down V, and then 3, and hit enter. And that simplifies to 729. Keep simplifying. We want to leave this in terms of pi because I didn't ask you to round. So now we want to multiply your 4/3 times your 729 to get your final answer in terms of pi. And so that gives you 972 pi. Don't forget your units. Make sure to write your units cubed. Okay, let's try another one. Same type of question. We want to find the volume of the given sphere. So again, your formula is the same as the last one. We're going to use your 4/3 pi radius cubed. Now I want you to look very closely at the picture. Notice the 40 feet is for the whole solid line. So that's actually going to be your diameter of your sphere, not your radius. But keep in mind the relationship between your diameter and your radius, same for a circle. 2 radii is equivalent to 1 diameter, or half your diameter is equal to your radius. So if the diameter is 40, then your radius is 20. So 20 is what's going to get substituted in for r into your formula. So again, keeping in mind order of operations when you're simplifying these equations, you want to do the exponent first. So do 20 to the third power, or 20 upside down v, 3, and hit enter. So that gives you 4/3 pi, 8,000. Simplifying one more time, do your 8,000 times 4/3, which is going to give you 32,000 thirds pi. Now that's an improper fraction. Many of you will get this if you're using your Inspires, but if you're not using your Inspire and you're using a scientific calculator, you may not get the improper fraction, and that's okay. Most of you are going to see something that looks like this. So if you see 10,666.6 repeating, remember that the 6 repeating is 2/3. So you can also write it as 10,666 and 2/3, or if you do the 0.6 repeating, make sure to put the bar on top. And again, that's pi feet cubed. Both of these are acceptable answers. Either one is okay. So in terms of what information for a sphere, that's basically all we can give you. We're either going to give you the radius or the diameter, so you just have to be careful which one you're given and whether or not you're going to have to cut the value in half before you put it into your formula. But let's try another one that's a little bit more advanced. For this question, it says to find the volume of the given hemisphere. Keep in mind when we did spheres with your orange challenge, the hemisphere was half of your sphere. So when we're thinking about calculating the volume for this, we're actually going to be calculating half of the total sphere that's given. So to start this question, actually do it as if you had a full sphere to find the volume for. So doing your formula, 4/3 pi, radius cubed. Note that I use 16 in my equation because the 32 again is the diameter. So cutting that in half to get your radius measurement, so that's why it's 16 cubed. So simplifying, you have 4/3 pi, 16 cubed is 4,096. Multiplying that with your 4/3, that gives you 5,461 1/3 pi. But again, the 5,461 1/3 pi is for a full sphere. You only have half of a sphere. So once you're getting this answer, then you want to divide that by 2. And so your final answer would be 2,730 2/3 pi meters squared. Now when you're dividing by 2 in your calculator, keep in mind that you're not typing pi in. So you're only doing 5,461 1/3 divided by 2. That's where the 2,730 and 2/3 is coming from. And again, keeping in mind, you're still talking about a three-dimensional shape, so still keeping your meters cubed. Okay, that's it. I think you guys should do just fine today. You should be able to finish your assignment also probably before you go, which means you wouldn't have any homework for the weekend. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, we can go through them on Monday. Have a great day.